The hottest books in the world, and at the list at number 10, Amazing Spider-Man issue number 50, the first appearance of Wilson Fisk, the first appearance of the Kingpin. 6 different sales outdid the recent 12-month average, over $8,000 worth of money's moved. Just because this book is at number 10 doesn't mean it's falling off. No, it's one of the hottest books in the world. It's being priced at fair market value, if not more. And that's why we're seeing less sales take place. People are holding it because they think it's going to go up.
Less sales, and in the mid and lower grades, too. When people are finding this book in high grades, it looks like they're holding on to it and not selling it, at least not yet, not in the lead up to Daredevil Born Again, which helps make sense when you look at some of these numbers on the sales this week.
We see a 4.5 selling for $6.92. That's 19% above its recent 12-month average. The 6.5's up 13%. 7.5 up 11%. And let's take a look at this 8.5, up 10%. A white pager going for $3,500.
We're going to be talking about page quality a lot. We kind of took a little page quality tangent here, but it's really interesting when you consider that has an effect on the price of these books. Just 8.5, that only tells you so much information. You got to consider the actual quality of the pages. It says it right there on the slab. This 8.5, for example, the one that hit $3,500 this week, that is the highest of the 3 sales that have taken place so far this year. That book has white pages. If you look at a previous sale from Christmas Eve, not even 2 months ago, again, an 8.5, that one sold for $2,565. $1,000 difference. Also, page quality difference. That one had off-white pages.
As it pertains to TV shows, I think Daredevil has one of the strongest intro themes. And we've been hearing rumors over this last week that they're going to actually keep the same intro song, but they're going to be changing the sequence.
I just think that's a really cool way to pay tribute to the original Netflix show. You keep the same intro music, but the animation, the actual title sequence itself will be supposedly changing. So it's like a little bit of meta commentary. We're getting the same show as before, but not exactly. And even the Daredevil, the original credits from that Netflix show, is some of my favorite opening credit sequences of any TV series of all time. It's right up there with like Succession for me.
The opening credits for Dexter is like on par with Daredevil for me. And they just like doubled down and were able to make it just as good for Dexter New Blood. And I want to know if anyone's watching that show in the comment section below. As you're anticipating Daredevil Born Again in early March, let's move on to number 9 on the list. But before we do, make sure to download Key Collector Comics. Support what we do. Use code TOM101 to unlock a free 2-week subscription of the app.
There's like 1,001 good parts about the Key Collector app, but one of my favorites, especially in con season, which is starting to kick up again, is every time there's a convention, it feels like there's a new spot on the app for those variants. Those exclusives all get collected and shown off. If you're somebody like me who can't make it to every convention, that is a cool way to see what's available at cons. And that, again, is just one of the bajillion different categories over on Key Collector. Use code TOM101, like the man said. 2 free weeks of the paid version of the app. Go give it a shot.
Number 9 on the list is Avengers number 4. This is the first Silver Age appearance of Captain America, Steve Rogers. This is a glorious book because he joins the Avengers. He gets thawed out of that ice in this issue. And I have yet seen Captain America Brave New World yet. Everyone in my life pretty much got sick over this last weekend.
That includes me. I'm starting to get a little tickle in the back of my throat, so wish me luck, comic fam. I think I'll be okay. We had 6 different sales for Avengers number 4 take place this past week that were all over the 12-month average in their respective grades for a total of over $8,400, $8,459 to be precise.
Now, why is this book on the list? I mean, Brave New World just premiered, and if there was any passing of the shield, reprisal by Chris Evans, we would have heard it by now. That would have been unavoidable on the internet. So I can't imagine that that's happened. And we did have confirmation as of December that Chris Evans was going to be in Avengers Doomsday. No word on if he's going to portray Cap, but all we've seen since then is Anthony Mackie and Chris Evans in interviews straight up saying that all of this is not true, that Chris Evans is not going to be Captain America anymore, that he is, quote, retired.
Retarded.
Retired.
Personally, I don't buy it. Between Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Doom and between Chris Evans himself reprising his role as Johnny Storm in Deadpool and Wolverine, and the fact that they've already confirmed he's going to be returning for Avengers Doomsday, it all kind of chalks up to me that we're getting kind of an Andrew Garfield situation here. Like he's just deny until the movie comes out and we figure out that he was lying all along. Let's get out to the numbers. We got a 4.0 this week that hit $1,100 for an increase of 5% over the recent 12-month average, and a 6.5 sold for $2,160. That's up 4%.
Then we have a 7.0 going for $3,000. That's up 5%. The cheapest 7.0 on eBay right now is $2,600, a far cry from $3K. Now, we were unable to find the page quality of that $3,000 sale, but what I do know is that that $2,600 listing is for a cream to off-white page quality.
That's all well and good, Tom, but I want to talk about Captain America for a change. Number 8 on the list, Captain America 117. This is the first appearance and origin of the Falcon, Sam Wilson, who eventually, obviously, becomes Captain America, as we are seeing on screen in this week's Brave New World.
Now, these sales all took place over the course of the weekend and a little bit before. So this was like the movie is now hitting theaters, some last-minute purchases, and then post-movie's release, people scooping up the book. And we were just chatting on the trending list this past weekend that we thought, Russ and I, that this was definitely undervalued. And we saw 6 different sales trend above $4,000 total in the last 7 days above the recent 12-month average. 3.0's up 11%, 6.0's up 6%, 8.0's up 11%, and then we do have that 9.4 going for $2,550. That's up 15%.
And that's the one that you and Russ talked about last week on the trending show, too. And I think some of that coverage might have even put this book on people's radar, you know? Like you guys even mentioned in that video, why is this book so low? This book, it's almost Silver Age, right? It's right there on the cusp between silver and bronze. This is such an important character, and the price is way too low, and it feels like people in the community are agreeing.
The box office estimate is exceeding $100 million so far for this movie. They thought they were only going to hit $80 million. Now, it's still a far cry from what they need when you consider like the marketing budget, but this is for certain not a Madam Web situation. This is not a Ant-Man Quantumania situation, which has got to be a good sign.
Yeah, that's why I'm really excited to get out to hopefully not get sick and get out there and go see this movie for myself and for my own opinion, because I've honestly heard too many weird, like, really didn't like it, really loved it, and most of them were kind of somewhere in between. So I want to figure it out for myself. I got to see this movie.
Number 7 on the list is Fantastic Four Annual. Number 6, Double Key. That's a whole lot of numbers. We have the first appearance of Franklin Richards, and we have the first appearance of the insectoid, humanoid, weird, smart, alien, insect Annihilus. Multiple reasons to spec on this book, and it's one of the more affordable books on the list, which is why I think the sales don't quite make sense for what the grades are selling for. We have a 3.0 up 32% going for $125. For $4 more, someone bought a 3.5 for $129, and that's up 50%, by the way. Then we have a 4.0 going for what the 3.0 is going for, $125, and that's a year high, up 24%. Then we have a 5.0 going for $200. That's up 49%. A 5.5 is going for less than the 5.0, $190 for an increase of 39%. And that's a year high sale for that book in grade. And then we have a 7.0 going for $299. That's up 12%. For a book that came out in 1968 with one of the most powerful characters in Marvel Comics and one of the most badass, crazy villains at the same time, getting a 7.0 for under $300 seems like a great deal.
It seems kind of ludicrous to me. I definitely am not in this, ballpark. This is more the Golden Age Guru's video and his Dominion, but those numbers are way too low for me. And I'm excited about this book. I'm a Fantastic Four nerd. I think Franklin Richards is a kind of a no-brainer for the MCU and spec in general. Annihilus is really freaky. You got to check out the crossover event from 2006 called Annihilation, kind of featuring Annihilus, Star-Lord, Thanos, Drax, a whole bunch of cosmic stuff happening. It's a really cool read, and it will make you excited about Annihilus and also make you kind of look twice at picking up his first appearance here in FF Annual number 6.
Last week, we were just chatting about Franklin Richards and how Sue Storm is suspected to be pregnant in this Fantastic Four First Steps movie, setting us up for his birth. We also have Agatha that exists in the MCU, who's the babysitter of Franklin Richards. And let's not forget the Nova show, which has been confirmed. Rumors are that Annihilus is going to be the main villain of that series.
How did we end up with 2 Mark Spears covers back to back in the mystery mail call? That makes no sense to me, Tom.
Thanks, Dynamite. Thundercats number 13, Lion-O cover, Mark Spears in every single box. Go to comictom.com. Support these videos we make, and we'll send you comics every single month. 4 to 5 comics to be precise, and the guaranteed exclusive this month is that Thundercats cover. Get your Mark Spears and support the show.
Back to the list. Number 6, Amazing Spider-Man number 252 from 1984. This is one of those, 400 or so first appearances of the black suit, the symbiote costume.
This is the first one.
This is the first one? Okay, I know there's I think 4? Is it actually 4? Or there's 3? Marvel Team Up, this book, and
Back.
Web of Spider-Man.
Tag.
100 and the Black Cat one.
90.
I don't know then. Yeah. Okay. That's 2 out of 3 for me. I'll call that a 2 out of 3. We saw 24 different sales of this book, by the way, which is quite a big amount of sales. Though all of those sales were over the 12-month average. Between all of those, we saw a total of $8,691 change hands.
Guys, the list of sales over this last week is one full Google Docs page. I'm not going to bore you with all of them. I'm going to hit you with some of the highlights. The 9.6 is up 31%, going for $475 on the high end. That's a year high sale. 3 copies outdid that recent 12-month average. Then with the barcode, Newsy, 9.6, up 21%, going for 475 as well. So wait a minute. Someone either overpaid or they underpaid. Then we have a 9.8 direct going for 1150. That's up 4%. That's a year high sale. This book has been trending around $900 to $1,000 at a 9.8 direct. I think this person may have overpaid a little bit, especially when you look at the newsstand 9.8 that just sold, $1,500. That's a year high. That's 9%.
So you're saying a newsstand 9.8, a direct 9.8, and a direct 9.6 all had their highest sale of the year this past week.
Indeed. And this is like the 6th or 7th time this book has landed on the Hot 10 this year.
Something must be going on with Symbiote stuff for this to be happening.
I do think that we need to be focusing on Daredevil and the news stuff that's going to be coming out on Disney Plus and all the Netflix era. Like, I'm getting my Iron Fist put aside. I said it. I'm getting my Jessica Jones.
Danny Rand, baby!
Dude, bring him back. Who cares? It's gonna
I
be
didn't
awesome.
hate that show. I did not hate Iron Fist.
It's not that bad, dude.
Especially season 2, by the way. It seemed like nobody went on and watched season 2. That second season was way better than season 1.
Defenders was excellent. Luke Cage, man, where are you at? Like, I want to see all these characters back. But the focus is clearly there. Like, we have Kingpin we're talking about. Then we have Fantastic Four mid-year. But let's not forget what's going on with the symbiotes. With Spider-Man 4, that's going to start filming in the next year. And then we got Avengers Doomsday, and we got Secret Wars, and what's going on with Venom, and what's going on with Tom Holland.
This feels like, even though we've been saying, for the last 6 months or so, this conversation has been happening around Venom: The Last Dance and the end of the Symbiote Spider-Man Sony movies and stuff. The fact that there's been so many symbiote keys on this list over and over and over the last few weeks could be people way planning ahead for movie stuff. Like me and Tom and everybody else are thinking about Daredevil, right? We're thinking about Red Hulk, Captain America: Brave New World. We're thinking about Superman and Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four. But if you really want to look way ahead, maybe you do some symbiote stuff, but maybe not now while some of the sales are like as high as they've been for a while.
Well, let's take a look at number 5 on the list, because I think the people who bought this next book disagree with you. We have Amazing Spider-Man 300, first full appearance of Venom. And similar to ASM 252, so many sales, but no direct 9.8s to report on because it's actually down. Remember, it takes 3 sales above the recent 12-month average to qualify to be on our list. With no 9.8 sales, it means that people are scooping it up, probably because they're looking at prices and they think that it's fair.
They think it's fair, or maybe it's just a little too much outside of their price range, right? And that's where people are starting to maybe step on the brakes. So it's interesting when you consider the movement on some of the lower grades when you ignore the 9.8s if there's nothing to report on.
9.0 up 3%, selling for 480. 9.2 up 12%, going for 575. 9.4 up 8%, going for 650. And then it starts to creep up here. 9.6 going for 1144. That's been a sub $1,000 book all year. Year high sale up 32%, and 4 copies outdid that recent 12-month average. Now, I did mention no direct 9.8, but we do have the elusive newsstand 9.8 that sold. Guys, this book sells at most 1 or 2 times a year. Last year, only 1 sale. 2023 was kind of crazy. There were like 6 sales of this book, but prior to that, 1 sale a year. This year, 9.8 Newsy just sold for $12,795. The last time this book sold was for $8,000. This book is up 23%.
And that's either the only time we're going to see a newsstand 9.8 hit the market this year, or maybe this is going to be one of those 2023 weird years with a whole bunch of 9.8 newsstand sales. It'll be kind of interesting to keep an eye on as the year goes on.
Now, what's going on with John Malkovich, number 4 on the list? We chatted about Fantastic Four 13 last week, and it's now on the Hot 10 this week. So maybe some people listen to our coverage and scoop this book up in just a recent couple days, or, which is more likely, because we talked about this on Sunday, and we were recording this on Tuesdays. Yeah. The book has continued to trend upwards. This is an expensive Fantastic Four book.
Number 13, right? This is a teenage Fantastic Four book. This is almost as early as it gets. And when you consider Red Ghost and you consider John Malkovich, who we did get a very brief glimpse at in this first trailer for Fantastic Four, first steps, you can see why people are starting to look at this. This is his first appearance. Red Ghost is this honestly kind of kooky, very Silver Age creation of a Russian scientist from the 60s who trains 3 apes to go up into space with him so they can all hopefully copy the Fantastic Four's powers, and he can fight the Fantastic Four with some radioactive super apes. I don't see that happening in this movie, and especially not after getting that glimpse of John Malkovich in the trailer. He looks a little more serious and somber than somebody who's, kind of a circus performer, basically.
But I will point this out. This is like a Soviet era scientist, and we are going into the 60s in this alternate universe that we're going to meet the first Marvel family in. However, let's put all that aside. This is the first appearance of the Watcher, dude.
Yeah. It is.
Dude, this is a toga key.
I'm missing this one. I have a lot of toga keys, but I am missing this one in my collection because it is a little expensive, which you're probably about to get into right here.
The 1/8's up 9%, the 2/0's up 6%, the 2/5's up 5%, the 3/5 is up 14%, the 5/5 you can get for $785, that's up 13%, and then we have a 7.0 going for $1,080, that's up 6%. All these percentages are within like 10-ish% of the recent 12-month average. This book is hot because it's selling, but the numbers aren't really increasing in value. So I look at it as just a just-in-case spec purchase right now.
I would be honestly a little disappointed if he turned out to be Red Ghost. For me, I'm hoping for something a little more of a moonshot possibility, like a Franklin Richards or even like Nathaniel Richards, right? Like there could be a bunch of different routes too, like Puppet Master even. That was my first guess when they cast John Malkovich. He looks just like Puppet Master, another really kind of kooky, strange early Fantastic Four villain.
I really enjoy the key collector analysis for this book because FF13 came out the same month as Amazing Spider-Man number 11, which is the second appearance of Dr. Octopus. ASM 11 has a total of 2,046 comics graded on the census of that issue. When you compare it to FF13, there's a total of 1,264. That is 782 copies less than Amazing Spider-Man issue number 11. No one was specking on this book, and apparently no one's grading this book, and it's still a major key. I'm not really thinking about Red Ghost when I say that. I'm thinking about The Watcher.
Actually, a good connection to the next book on the list, Fantastic Four, number 50, 1966. You had the Ultimate Nullifier in this book alongside a bunch of other Galactus Silver Surfer trilogy stuff. But I got to thinking about the Ultimate Nullifier and whether or not we're going to see that silly little looking gun in this Fantastic Four movie. This book did make the list. It did rank pretty high. We're talking third place here. Not only does this book have the Ultimate Nullifier and Galactus, it's the third appearance of Silver Surfer, and you got that iconic poop brown cover from Jack Kirby.
Johnny Storm going to college, and we have a lot of sales of this book. Let's get into it. 4/5's up 55%, going for $365. That's a year high sale. And the 5/5 is up 19%, going for $390.
We had the 7.0 hit $645 this week for a 20% increase. But if you look earlier this month, we're talking like the 5th of February, you had an 8.0 hit $1,295. That's a 23% increase over its recent 12-month average. But if you look earlier, like 2 months ago earlier in late December, we also had an 8.0 sell for just $666.
This is interesting. We have another book that sold right around Christmas. This happened December 26th, the day after Christmas. And that book had cream to off-white pages, and it sold for about 50% less than it just sold for with just slightly better page quality.
To be fair, Christmas time was before the trailer. And maybe that's all trailer effect. Seeing Galactus on screen makes people a little frenzied, I would guess.
Can you do us a solid right now and hit that like button while we move on to number 2 on the list with Fantastic Four number 49, the first full appearance of Galactus, second appearance of the Silver Surfer, and 14 different sales that nearly hit $10,000 in total over the last 7 days, trending above the recent 12-month average.
There's just a lot of sales for this book this week. If you don't believe me, you can go check out Key Collector. I'm not lying, I promise. Starting with the 4/5, however, we're going to cut some of these out. The 4/5, we had 4 of those outsell the average this week, the highest going for $570 for an 11% increase. The 5.0, 3 copies outsold that average, the highest hitting $644. That's only 9% up, but in the 7.5 range, we did have a year high sale of $1,698 for an increase of 18%.
I think people are underestimating Julia Garner, first off. Shia LaBeouf. Imagine if we get introduced to this cosmic surfer, and yeah, she's probably only going to be around for a little bit, because I don't think we're not going to get Norrin Rad. But if she sets the bar super high, imagine the bar that has to be set for Norrin Rad. We may be underestimating the Jack Kirby FF trifecta right now.
I have a thing I like to do when they announce actors for superhero movies. I like to go back and watch their stuff if I've never seen anything with them before. Like David Cornsweet was in that movie X or Pearl, or which I get those all mixed up. But
They're
he was
all really good.
He was in that. And he was great in that movie. I'm excited for Superman. Once I heard Julia Garner was going to be Silver Surfer, I decided I should probably check out Ozark. I've been skipping Ozark for years. I'm almost done with the show. She's a really good actress. She's my favorite character in the whole show. I'm excited for her as Silver Surfer, but I still can't see it, honestly. She's a very different character in that show. Ruth is crazy.
We've been making the Hot 10 video list for over 4 years straight without skipping a beat. And did you know, Ryan, that as of last week, we have hit 7 years on YouTube. This is a celebration video. So we appreciate your support. Thank you for giving us any of your attention to let us entertain you at all throughout the year if you watched any of our content.
I had not realized that before, but yeah, February 2018, it's when you did that first video with the drone on the dock and the water and stuff. If you go all the way back to the beginning of the channel, that's 7 years ago. I'm old. Let's get back to it. I don't want to think about that anymore.
The number 1 hottest book in the world is the first appearance of Frank Castle, the first appearance of the Punisher, Amazing Spider-Man issue number 129. For weeks now, the Guru and I have been hypothesizing that some books on this Hot 10 have been outdoing other books because some sell because the prices are getting too low. Some sell because people believe in it long term. Some sell for higher amounts because people are okay with the fair market value and they think it's going to go up drastically in the short term. And this book is at number 1 because of that reason.
Get this. We had 10 different sales of this book across all grades over the 12-month average over the last week for a grand total across all those sales over $17,000. And 6 of those sales, those are the ones we're going to report on here, those were all the highest sales of the year so far for this book. People are very much excited about The Punisher.
Keep in mind, Daredevil Season 2, the debut of Frank Castle in the Netflix Marvel shows, was the strongest performing season of any of the series. We have 4.5. And as Ryan alluded to, every sale I'm about to report on is a year high. Sold for $855, up 5%. The 5.5's up 14%. The 6.5 sold for $1,210, up 5%. The 8.0's up 1%. The 8.5 sold for $2,300, that's up 10%. And then we have a 9.2 sale, year high, up 8%, going for $3,120. The cheapest 9.2 on eBay right now is $3,000, and that's an or best offer. They'll probably take a little bit less than $3,000. Did someone just overpay? Well, that $3,000 listed book is off white to white pages. That page quality matters, comic fam.
If you want one with white pages, there is one listed right now for $3,600. So that's kind of gives you an idea of what the price difference is between those two.
It took such a long time for Daredevil Born Again to release. And by the time that it actually does in early March, they will begin filming season 2, which is kind of crazy. So we know we're getting a season 2, but there's no word on if we're getting a season 3. How long before we get updates on The Punisher?
I mean, back in the Netflix days, we got 2 seasons of Daredevil and then a Punisher spinoff. Maybe that's going to happen again. I wouldn't be too upset if we got another, solo Punisher show, although I kind of have a hard time visualizing that on Disney+. Stranger things have happened, though.
Well, you can watch both Punisher Season 1 and Season 2 and all the Netflix shows right now on Disney+. It's a weird thing to watch because those shows do get violent and they do get sexy.
Luke Cage, baby.
Hit the like and subscribe, and as always,
Geek responsibly.
Enough said. Thanks for sitting in, Ryan.
I try. Jeff, he told me he didn't want to do it. He said he was sick of being here, and he asked me if I could do it, and I said, I guess I'll do it for you.
He's out of town, but we do have this Red Hulk #1 graded at a 9.2.
Not on the list this week, by the way.
It didn't make it.
Must mean people hate the movie.
All right, well, if you didn't hate the movie and you want this slab, all you have to do is join our SMS group, comictom.com. There's a pop-up, put your phone number in, and we draw all of our weekly giveaways from that list.
We will text message you. Literally, I will text message you. It's me that goes in there on the back end and sends out all these messages and collates all this stuff. I will get your address from you, whoever the winner is, and we'll ship this book right out to you.
Join the community and have a great week.